Hi guys! Today we're going to talk about when to use c'est versus when to use il est or elle est. So all of these things can mean similar things. They can mean he is, she is, it is, or they are. And they're separated into singular and plural. So let's take a look at singular. Our singular options are c'est, il est, and elle est. And all of these can mean he is, she is, or it is. That's right. C'est can mean he is, and it can also mean it is. Il est can mean he is or it is, and elle est can mean she is or it is. So all of these share this meaning. Okay? And then looking at our plural versions, we have ce sont and ils sont or elles sont. And all three of these can mean they are. So let's look further as to when we decide to use c'est and when we decide to use il est or elle est. So let's first take a look at when to use il est. Here are some of our other forms of il est. We have il est, elle est, and then the plural forms ils sont, elles sont. Okay? These all go into this same category of il est. And when we use these, we're going to use il est followed by an adjective. Because when we use il est, we're using it to describe someone or something. Alright? So if I were to say he is tall, I would say il est grand. Notice that grand is an adjective. If I were to say she is blonde, I would say elle est blonde. And notice that blonde is an adjective. And if I wanted to say they are talkative, I would say ils sont bavards. They are talkative, and notice that talkative is an adjective. So whenever I want to describe someone or something using an adjective, I will use one of these four forms: il est, elle est, ils sont, or elles sont. On the other hand, we'll use c'est when we want to say what or who someone or something is. Okay? So our two forms of c'est are c'est, which is singular, and ce sont, which is plural. And these again can mean it is, he is, she is, or they are. Here's our formula. We're going to use c'est followed by a noun. So here's where this is very different from our previous slide. The previous slide was il est plus an adjective, and this is c'est plus a noun. So when you're talking about a noun, you're going to use c'est. If I wanted to say he's a friend, I would say c'est un ami. C'est un ami. This is very different from English, right? C'est un ami. He's a friend. What is he? Who is he? A friend, and that's a noun. If I wanted to say she's my mom, I would say c'est ma mère. C'est ma mère. And notice, ma mère is also a noun. Okay? So even though this looks like it is my mom, I'm saying she's my mom. This is how we do it in French. And then if I wanted to say these are some gray cats, I would say ce sont des chats gris. These are some gray cats. So there's an adjective in here, but very important, there's a noun. What are they? They are gray cats. So even though we're describing them somewhat with this adjective, it's very important that we have this noun here that tells us that we are informing our listener or our reader about what or who this is. So if you've got a noun, you're going to use c'est or ce sont. So when we use c'est, we're saying what or who it is, and that will mean that we'll use a noun. And when we're using il est, we're describing someone or something. So we'll be using an adjective, and there will be no noun. There will be no noun when we use il est, elle est, or ils sont, elles sont. So let's practice a little bit. We can practice with my cat, Eli. There's a picture of him when he was a kitten. So if I want to say what it is, a cat, I could say, c'est un chat. It's a cat. I'm telling you what it is. So I'm using c'est. If I wanted to tell you more information about what it is, I could say, c'est un petit chat. It's a little cat. And I'm still using c'est because I'm telling you what it is. What is it? It's a cat. Okay? Now, if I wanted to describe him, I could say, il est petit. He is small. And here I'm describing him with an adjective. And that's why I use il est. How about another example? Let's try an example with my mom. Do you think we look alike? I do. Okay. So if I wanted to tell you who she is, I could say, c'est ma mère. She is my mom. And notice that I'm using c'est because I'm using a noun, ma mère. I'm telling you who she is. I could give you more information and say, c'est une femme généreuse. She's a generous woman. And I'm using c'est because I'm using a noun. C'est une femme généreuse. I'm telling you who it is by using a noun. Now, if I wanted to describe her, I could say, elle est généreuse. She is generous. And I'm using she is instead of c'est because I'm describing with an adjective and there is no noun. Okay? How about one last example? Let's use a photo of me and my older sister when we were little. If I wanted to say who they are using a noun, I could say, ce sont des sœurs. They are sisters. And that's using a noun, so I use ce sont. Or I could say, ce sont des filles heureuses. Using ce sont, they are happy girls. Okay? And I'm using a noun here, so I have to use ce sont. If I wanted to describe them using an adjective, I could say, elles sont heureuses. Elles sont heureuses. They are happy. And I would use elles sont because I'm just using an adjective here. There is no noun. So something special happens in French when we talk about professions or people's occupations. And the special thing is that you can use either c'est or il est. You can use either category. And the reason is that in French, you can use a profession as an adjective. So normally we have c'est goes with nouns and il est, elles sont goes with adjectives, right? But if we use our professions as adjectives, that means we can use either one. So I'll show you what that looks like. If I wanted to say who someone was, I could say, c'est un agent de police. It's, or he is, or she is, un agent de police. This is a noun, and so we're using c'est, right? Or I could say, ce sont des médecins. They are doctors. And médecin is a noun, so I'm using ce sont. Because ce sont goes with nouns. I'm saying who they are. Ce sont des médecins, they're doctors. But I could also say, il est agent de police. He is a police officer, but I'm using agent de police as an adjective. I'm describing using a noun as an adjective. It's something that exists in French, but not in English. And you'll notice here that il est agent de police. I don't have my indefinite article un that I had up in the example above. And the reason why is because agent de police is being used as an adjective here. I know it's complicated, but it's true. Then we have elles sont médecins. They are doctors. And the reason why I can use elles sont, which normally would go with an adjective, is because I'm using médecin as an adjective, even though it's a noun. And so elles sont médecins, they are doctors. Notice here we would normally have our indefinite article de, but there is no indefinite article because we're not using médecin as a noun, we're using it as an adjective. So the important takeaway here is that you can use either one of these when you're talking about professions. But when you use c'est, you have to remember to use your articles. And when you use il est, you have to remember that there are no articles. But you can use either one. This is a very complex subject, but I hope that this video has helped you to understand how in French we use c'est and il est. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know.